Hey, Wagwan. You know what the big bad black sheep, hot of fire, not a pretender or liar. And it's another reasoning, yeah? So, yeah, welcome. Tune in, get comfortable. Yeah, and I hope that you're good, You've been taking things one step at a time, Not really trying to control anything outside of yourself other than yourself, So yeah, it's been a while, not that long, but it's been like last month since my last 2 videos. And I want to tell you, so before that, I did those videos, that week I was just emotional, I just out of nowhere just started to cry, grieve, just some old pains, you see. And so yeah, growth is very painful, There's something called growing pain, and it's a real thing, trust me. Yeah, so this topic is about domestic violence and male nature. Now, when I researched domestic violence in Jamaica, the first thing that came up in the paragraph is that it is a very serious thing in Jamaica, and it is, because growing up, a sight happened to women close to me by men in my family as well. So yeah, I don't condone abuse or violence, but I am a very protective person, the people I love, myself and my peace, So yeah, you see, this patriarchal system, it's like a crutch for males, and without it, most of them would even be alive, or they wouldn't even have the access to females. And violence, them using violence, not only is it a part of their nature, but they willfully wield, such energy because it benefits them, It gives them a sense of control. So this is a breakdown for you to understand, more about domestic violence and how really detrimental it is, to one's well-being. Because in this Jamaican society, people like to say that when a man abuses a woman or even unalives her, it's because of love. Love, how can love, cause death, pain and destruction, dysfunction in another's life? Yeah? Love is from the soul. It's authentic, It's not a cage to have, anybody in. So yeah, it's a very sick norm that people overlook a lot in Jamaica, and people need to realize, the mindset, because it's destroying more lives than actually helping anybody at all, Now, I know men that abuse women, and I stay away from them. Back then, I wouldn't even think for being in a relationship with them, because I don't think I am an exception of their rule. Yeah? But anyway, you see, domestic violence, when I was studying Rastafari, right? And this is a prominent thing amongst those communities of people. Yeah? Even the men that sing music. I don't know if you know of a time when this famous singer named Bunny Wailer and his wife went missing, right? Now, that lady suffered with mental illness because of the way she was treated by Bunny Wailer in that relationship. Yeah? Very violent man. Very abusive. And I can tell you that most of those Rasta men are very abusive men. Yeah? And I've talked about the cult behavior amongst them. You know, how they sleep with each other's wives and husbands, and even, you know, same-sex intercourse and all of that. Yeah? And people normalize these behaviors. Yeah, and they not only enable the abusers, but they bully the victims into silence. Because I am currently going through gang stalking, you know, because of the things that I know. And the funny thing is, me speaking the truth and posting it on my YouTube and, you know, my TikTok, I realized that, you know, my videos are being tampered with. It's like it's being flagged or some shit like that, because the views are off and all of that, you know. But I know people are watching me, you see. But yeah, so this society is so anti-woman that even women that are being abused, they don't really take it serious. Even their deaths, they don't really take it serious. Majority of people in this society. Yeah? But I would like to get into the definition of domestic violence. Domestic violence is violence that occurs in a domestic setting, such as a marriage or a cohabitation, you know, like common law relationships. Yeah. In a broader sense, abuse, including non-physical abuse in such settings, is called domestic abuse. Yeah. So, it's not just violence men use to abuse women. Psychologically, emotionally, financially, sexually. There's so many ways. Yeah. But let me elaborate more. The term domestic violence is often used as a synonym for intimate partner violence, which is committed by one of the people in an intimate relationship against the other, and can take place in relationships or between former spouses or partners. In a broader sense, the term can also refer to violence against one's family members, such as children, siblings, or parents. Forms of domestic abuse include physical, verbal, emotional, financial, religious, reproductive, and sexual. It can range from sub to coercive forms of marital rape and other violent physical abuse such as choking, beating, female genital mutilation, and acid throwing that may result in disfigurement or death, and includes the use of technology to harass. Oh. So even technologically they can abuse you, like when they expose certain private videos and pictures of your said partner. Men are jealous creatures, yeah, and when a man, you see a man, unalive a woman, it's not out of love but survival, because sex, as I said, it's a need for them. But what I'm saying is this, right? It takes a while for a man to get access to females, right? And when he does get the access, he fears losing that access, yeah? And that fear can cause him to be like that, to behave with violence, and to be abusive, controlling. In nature, right, you have the red squirrel, and in that species of squirrels, the female will mate with more than one of the males, right? And whichever one has the strongest sperm, she would get pregnant and just carry that child. But on the male side now, say a male want his genes to be passed, and he knows that the female red squirrel is pregnant or has children, he will then infiltrate her nest and kill her offsprings just to mate with her again, to pass his genes. Now, some people will say, that is wickedness and all of that, but this is the nature of males, and even the nature of females. As I said, it's women have two folds, security and sex. So necessarily, to a point, it's like one man doesn't cut it, because if one man can provide, he can't necessarily please her sexually. And if one can please her sexually, he can't necessarily provide for her. So it's like, it's a part of nature to not really to behave a certain way, unless we consciously choose to do different. But yeah, let's continue. Alright, so that may result in disfigurement or death, and includes the use of technology to harass, control, monitor, stalk, or hack. Domestic murder includes stoning, bride burning, honor killing, and dowry death, which sometimes involves non-cohabitating family members. I've always heard about honor killing, right? So like, it's like this. Say I'm born into a family and they would want me to marry a next person in another family. But I would go against that will. My family now would orchestrate for me to be unalived, you know. So that is what you call honor killing. And a lot of cultures practice these things. You know, you have it in India, China. You know, some of these laws have been recently revoked, but you know, the mindset still exists, right? And you had a shortage of females in India, you know, and even Bangladesh, where they would abort the female fetuses, right, and only carry the males because they wanted the family name to be, you know, carry on. So that caused a shortage of females in those countries. Yeah, and it's sick. It's fucking sick, you know. But yeah, it's a worldwide thing against the feminine, you know. And even woman against woman. It feels so natural to some women to just throw a woman under the bus, you know. But anyway, in 2015, the United Kingdom's Home Office widened the definition of domestic violence to include coercive control. Worldwide, the victims of domestic violence are overwhelmingly women, and women tend to experience more severe forms of violence. Yeah. So I have made some pointers myself, and I would like to just share them and elaborate more. But before that, let me read this paragraph. Domestic violence often occurs when the abuser believes that they are entitled to it, or that it is acceptable, justified, or unlikely to be reported. Now, I've seen when you know, scenarios where women are being abused by men, and not only I would see that I don't know what I go through their mind, you know, because ain't no way somebody can put them hands on me and me stay around them for like years. Like, come on, man. You have to have a limit. Yeah? Your health, your mental, your physical, your spiritual health will surely decline, you know, the more you accept these types of treatments. But yeah, domestic violence came from a patriarchal influence because of the male's nature to control and dominate over wives and girlfriends. So, in these societies, right, like even with the police in Jamaica, and even, you know, I've heard stories in America too, where the wives would report, you know, being abused, and they would be silenced or gaslighted. Yeah? Or they would take the side of the abusers to even gain more control over the victim. And as I said, people think that men unalive women out of love, which is just a sick mentality which should really look at and correct. Because love is pro-life. Love influences growth. Yeah, safety, peace. Come on, man. Men hardly feel bad for domestic violence and or see it as beneficial to get their needs met. When I watch Princella's podcast, right, and she shows, even more evidence of these things. She even has a book called The 41 Shades of Men, ways to subdue and use you. And she keeps adding more because they keep on coming up with more ways to use women, And she showed a clip where this psychiatrist had a couple meals, right? And it was like a study, research. And the psychiatrist realized that none of these men feel bad because, of what they were doing to their wives, the abuse that they were causing. And they admitted that they did it because they get their needs met. Now, if nobody else's feelings matters more than you getting your needs met, then you need to really come again and look at yourself. And we women need to realize that too, that these men don't feel sorry for anything that they do. They lack introspection. But let me get into our next pointer. Yeah. Men use domestic violence as a survival mechanism to hoard resources. Now, a woman's resources can be controlled by a man. As I said, these men are like gold diggers. They are the original gold diggers. Because all they do is nothing but to finesse us out of our power and our resources. And I've been in cases with anti-natural, right, where I did work with him and he would tell a lie just not to pay me what I earned, That's the kind of abuse that people don't really, have an awareness to. But yeah, I saw the pattern though. But next pointer. Domestic violence is a psychological projection of the abuser's state of being. There is so many tests you can use, to really, because when you don't give a male what he desires, you will see his true character, right? And I realize that men that like to abuse women, they don't like to hear no. They like to boss people around, you know. But yeah, next pointer. Men are aggressive by nature, and being in stressful environments, especially the home, can cause domestic violence. So like when the time of COVID, when we had to stay inside, and the rates of domestic violence went skyrocketed. That was the cause. If we should restore our society to a more matriarchal system, where we allow nature to be, even within ourselves. Most men wouldn't survive, Because, you see, when it comes to nesting, that's more like a woman's thing, Men mostly roam the earth, and it's not for a very long time, It's for a short period of time. Especially if he's of a weaker gene. Yeah. So, being in enclosed environment with men that are unable to exert a certain amount of energy will cause, you to be a target. Especially if, he himself is battling with even more traumas than you. But next pointer. Domestic violence can be a learned action from either one of the parents growing up, or violence was an enabled action from either one of the parents growing up. I know a lot of women that have male sons that when those males do anything wrong, instead of correcting them, they enable them. They rather to defend them, And those men, they go around and think that all women should enable their actions and to stick by them while they behave like animals. And I realize, a lot of these women too, it's like when addicted to pain, because we don't like to give access, give your access away to these men, these types of abusive men, aggressive men, not knowing that you're putting yourself in danger. Because once you invite someone close to you, you thinking that that person is going to protect you from others, when in fact they should be protecting you from themselves, because they are the closest in proximity to you. Yeah? And men are not born protectors. That is something that this patriarchal system lied to them about. Next pointer. Men naturally see women as to be inferior to them, and domestic violence is an expression of that. So, I mean, some men know that women are smarter than them. Yeah, and they hate that. And some of us are strong like them. Some aren't, Build your strength. You know, strength is something that you should aspire to build. You know, not just mentally but physically as well. So I know some men that are waiting for opportunities to use their physical strength in excess ways to damage women. Yeah? All because of you just being you, you know? Because let me tell you, no matter how studdish I dress sometimes, like, is that shit, that's the shit that attracts them even more. You know? And even in Princella book, I haven't read it yet, but, you know, I've had a little glimpse of it. You have this one man that she called him the lesbian man, that feels like it is his duty to conquer any woman that doesn't want a man, you know. But anyway, these men, I wouldn't say they like a challenge, because if other men should challenge them, they would back down, you know. But I would say they like the hunt, naturally. But I know my power, you know, now, even more. And yeah, when they realize that it's like a repellent, truly. Because when I make even certain remarks, like when they ask me, yo, like, can we be friends? I'm like, no. It's like, why? I'm like, males are going to push their boundaries, right? So you have to meet them with logic sometimes. Because as I said, you know, we are smarter in a lot of ways. Yeah? And we need to just match, you know, with emotions, with logics. Because when you approach them with logics, they can't handle that. They can't. That's why they have to use, you know, their physical strength to dominate. But yeah. Most men can't express anger and stress in a healthy way, other than being violent or abusive. Now, when I talk about even those males, you know, in Rastafari, and the one that sing reggae music and how abusive they are, you see, you're not supposed to even like to you know, be with men that are musicians, you know, artists, because a lot of times when things don't go their way, you know, it's very stressful, yeah, and they will take out their anger on you, especially if you're their woman, yeah. They can't take it out on who they want to take it out on. They're going to take it out on you. And for a while, you know, growing up, I even see that the psyche of evil men that are police officers, you know. Those men are, I see them as very dangerous, you know. They're very coverted with their abuse, and not to mention the protection that they get from the police force. You see? I wouldn't advise women to deal with these types of men. Not to mention, you know, the infidelity and they sleep around a lot. Yeah. Even the one that I talk about in a recent video, when I said that, you know, we were doing this project, because he's also a producer as well. But I observe everything, and I know what I know, you see, because of that. And he has his woman that he claims that he wants to marry, but this is a man that sleeps around like a fucking dog, you know. And sometimes we as women, we wouldn't want to even take heed when other women want us, because we think that maybe it's out of jealousy, but no. Because I've warned a lot of women, right, about men, you know, and who they are, and they never believed me. And I watched them go through the same shit that I warned them about, you know. So we need to really wise up and see who and what we're really dealing with. You need to stop put yourself in danger with these men. Yeah? They're animals. They know they're animals. Yeah? Some of them are not even proud of it. I'm gonna cut this video right here and, you know, bring forward a part 2. Yeah? See you over there.